Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about PP Poo Poo and how the community has been kind of talking about this recently. As I'm sure you guys know, I've always thought PP Poo Poo is not really that problematic, especially at the higher level, but I can understand how lower levels might have a problem with PP Poo Poo. So PP Poo Poo has been pretty much considered to be overpowered for probably a year or two now. After the second PP Poo Poo buff on the PTB, they pretty much got up to like A tier. And the problem is not really the strength of the killer, it's more the style of gameplay involved. It's one of those killers where basically you can just, fuck up and it doesn't really matter because the cooldown of the power is not long enough to justify there being equal, gameplay from both sides. So typically, when a killer misses an attack, for example, if Nemesis misses a tentacle, he's like slowed down for a bit and he's barely even punished, but at least he's slowed down. So if you do dodge a hit, it makes a lot of sense. And you can try to, gain a little bit of distance or try to chain together a towel with that. But with PP Poo Poo, it seems like the counterplay is basically just hope the killer screws up. And that is not really exciting. And I've always thought that PP Poo Poo can be really fun if we actually have a bit of a cooldown to the power itself if you miss, but also buff them in other regards. Additionally, other than PP Poo Poo, there's PP that is way too strong on not just that killer, but honestly other killers too. It is the best slowdown in the entire game, and it would be really nice if the game wasn't balanced around running these slowdown perks, but PP just, it has too much synergy with Grim Embrace and Corrupt Intervention that it's sort of like a staple on every single build now, and I kind of wish that wasn't the case. Again, at lower MMRs, you're not really going to notice this, so it's not a very big deal, but at higher MMRs, it seems like every single killer is running PP, and honestly, they're playing PP Poo Poo, and it's just ridiculous the amount of slowdown to expect even just a good solo queue team to be able to go against that without any coordination or communication. It's almost impossible, and I'm not really sure what behavior is thinking there. If we look at the patch notes for the PTB coming up, though, it looks like they are making PP block generators for 6 less seconds per stack, which is probably going to be enough, but I'm not really sure. But basically, all this boils down to this central conversation for the, I guess, like the main point of the entire video. Does Dead by Daylight need to keep making perks like PP when killers like PP Poo Poo exist? Because as long as killers like PP Poo Poo exist, then perks like PP are going to be seen as way too strong. But if you put PP on, like Trapper or something, it's obviously not strong at all. So it's again, the problem is the difference between the weakest and strongest, be it map or killer or perk. The disparity is still way too high to the point where it's just never actually going to be balanced. And until they realize things like PP can't function the way they do while there's such disparity in the game, we're just going to have endless arguments and frustration about the game just until the end of time. That's just unfortunately how it's going to work. And I really don't think they're ever going to actually they're never really going to be able to do that, because the rate at which they add new content is the rate at which they fix old stuff to be better, but then there's new shit that's broken as well. So we have like this never-ending cycle of shit permanently being broken. And they did talk about doing an Operation Health type of thing there, but it was only for a couple of weeks. It wasn't really a big in-depth one. There's not really enough time to make things like that actually function. And I know next chapter, we don't know what it's going to be, but next chapter we're getting PP Diarrhea, and that is, just the sheer thought of that being in the game, it's going to bring a lot of people into the game first off, but I'm really concerned that PP Diarrhea is going to be one of those killers that's really accessible, really easy to play, because they want the new players to be able to succeed with it, but has very low skill cap, but it still gets you downs really easily. So you have something like an old Skull Merchant scenario where it basically takes nothing to actually get, hits with her, but at the same time, it's really boring to go against. And I'm really scared that PP Diarrhea is going to have that very low skill ceiling, low skill floor, So even people that are objectively worse than you at the game can still down you very fast because the killer is designed in such a way to be accessible for new players. And I do think that is going to be a problem. That's just speculation. I may be a bit doomer there, so it's not really that big of a deal as of right now, but I do think that's the way behavior is going to go, and I would be really scared to see that. So overall, PP Diarrhea, something to be worried about in the future. PP, it's too strong based on the current disparity of weakest and strongest killers. The perk offers way too much blockage for generators. The 6-second nerf that they talked about, I'm not sure it's going to be enough, but we'll see. And finally, Poo is... I think I said pee pee poo poo first. Fuck.